All right, back at Groomer's Garage, working on the 1964 WM300 Power Wagon, the front axle, and I've got started to tear it down, removed it from the frame, and I've got a donor axle also in case I need some extra parts. I'm disassembling this one. I do have another one here that can be a donor, possibly for that, for parts. So as you can see, I've gotten into it. I've got to go ahead and remove this outer hub, and the brakes weren't too bad. The drum is pretty well worn, so they would need to be turned down, new seals. The bearings don't look really too bad, but we'll see. If I go and replace everything, I'll probably just replace everything. But that's it for now. I'll come back and I'll show you how to tear down this front differential. So basically, this has been a pretty easy tear down so far. Of course, you have the outer hub, which is of course right here, and that is held on, as most of you probably know, by two nuts. There's an inner bearing that goes up against that, and then this fits on here. There's 6 bolts that hold this onto the hub. There's a inner nut and an outer nut, and this nut here, of course, is locked in place with the tab, and we'll show that when we go back. But the shaft isn't too bad. The bearing looks pretty good, but we will continue on. The brake pads, they're not completely wore out, but they would need to be replaced. I can see the rivets popping out of there, so probably putting new shoes on those would be a good idea if I continue on this path, or if I decide to go the disc brake route. So that's what we're going to do. The next thing we'll be doing is we'll be removing these bolts here and this inner hub. So we remove the bolts, and then we'll go ahead and get this stuff apart here. As we go along here, we've got some, it's like a shim here in place. Yeah, then just remove the cotter key and the nut and the tie rod in there, and you may have to use a good-sized hammer to loosen that off, but the biggest thing is getting the cotter key out, as we all know, and then just continuing on. We all know this is a no-no, hitting a hammer on a hammer, but sometimes you use what you got. You can use the mighty dead blow from Harbor Freight, not sponsored. All right, so we're going to take these four bolts out. Of course, we've got some shims here. We need to shims here, so I want to make sure I keep those together. So I'll probably put those in plastic bags and type stuff to. That's the way I do it, to keep everything situated and keep everything planned out accordingly. But then again, it may need new shims and new bearings in here when we get inside this thing also. So who knows? We'll find out here in just a little bit here. All right. right, that one, all it has is a gasket on it, so no seal at all there. So then we're going to go ahead and remove these.
Nothing ever gets stuck until you have all your.
To remove these two halves, there is a dowel pin on top and bottom, and you will have to probably use a chisel and pry those apart. There's also this back sleeve back here, and that's a wiper sleeve that you'll see here in just a minute, and you've got to take about 8 bolts out back around on the back side of that to go ahead and get those two halves apart. So right here, I'm just taking these bolts out to make this easier to get to. And the bottom ones there, of course, you just have to kind of move your setup around just a little bit. Helps when you look at the socket that you're trying to make sure you grab the right size out of the toolbox, right? All right. Closer and closer here. You got a race and a bearing in here, and then a race and a bearing on the back side also. So you gotta tap those out of there. And that comes out. You got some shims here. You want to hold on to those shims. That's how you're going to set your preload on these. And it falls right out like that. So a little tapping going on, and you get it all out. And let's see here. Oh, this grease has been in here a long time. Man, it is very, very messy. So we'll go ahead and get this knuckle out of here. This is your knuckle shaft. I call it a knuckle shaft. I'm not sure what it's really called, but that's what I would call it. None of that. That one appears to be just fine. Nothing broke on it. It does appear that I've got some, possibly some, well, maybe not. No, I think it's okay. So I'll go ahead and get this taken apart, and we'll be back here in just a minute. As you can see, this thing is doweled here and here. So we're gonna have to split this case apart here. So I'm gonna take a small chisel, try not to hurt it, and kind of break it. Some of you guys are probably saying, well, use a bigger hammer. Well, that's true. Probably should. But I'm just gonna go with what I got right now. And it falls right out. There we go. So there you have your two halves. You got, there's a lot of old nasty grease here. Let's see. The knuckle here on this side looks pretty good. So this has a roller bearing on the bottom, and it has a bronze bushing on top, as you can see. So, all right, well, we'll get all this cleaned up, and we will move ahead forward. So anyway, so that's all for this one for right now. Then we will get some of the rest of this apart, pull the differential, and see if I've got anything broke inside the differential there, because I think something is amiss in there. So we will see. So just going ahead with the removal and pulling this apart, you'll see here's this knuckle. I call it a knuckle. And of course we have our shaft that goes in. And of course it's nothing's broke here. So you know, I'll take the other side out and I'll pull the differential. So a little bit of work to get this thing out of here, but be well worth it in the end. These surfaces seem to be pretty good. These don't look too bad here. We'll see though. We'll see as we get this thing apart, find out what all is, if there's anything that's gone wrong in here. See if we got any extra parts and pieces maybe. So, as you know, these are nasty to work on. Or if you haven't, you will now know that these are quite a mess here. But you know, all in due time, all in due time. Working on rotating this thing around, and as you can see, it's a little bit more difficult than it looks. So I think I found the secret of getting this off. It's a little bit more challenging. Maybe I'm just not doing it right, but the manual doesn't show really how to get it off here. But I had to just spread it apart and get it past this, and then as I tap it, it will just come on off there. Like I said, maybe some of you old timers could have given me a secret, but maybe that's the probably the best way to get it out. And so that's your wiper seal. It of course, like I said, it has this metal in here, and of course I'm going to order a new one. And then this wiper goes in here, and that's just to keep all the dirt and everything out. You do have a inner seal in here, which is right in there. So that's what keeps your 80 weight, 85 W90 or whatever oil you're running in there. That keeps that from going out to the outside. It should. And then of course you have your other seals here. And so that's really about it for taking this side apart. Now I got to do the same thing, rinse and repeat here on the other side. So y'all have a great day. I'm pretty sure there's something that's broken in here, but so far good on this side, which is a little bit strange because this is a side that was rotating slowly. It could have just been maybe it was hanging up on the brake too, but I wanted to take it apart and make sure when I'm doing this whole thing, I might as well take it apart while I got it off and try to fix it up, reseal it up anyway, because it's leaking. It needs some new wiper seals definitely, and the outer seals were probably just need to be replaced too. So no big deal. Have a good one.